Hi, I'm Joni Ernst, and I have the honor of serving as Iowa's junior senator in the United States Senate. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in person, but I am glad to have the opportunity to address with you some important issues we will be working on. I'd also like to thank you all for the important feedback you continue to provide my office. It's so important that I continue to hear about the issues on your mind so we can take that information and advocate on behalf of the folks who live, work, and invest in the upper Mississippi River Basin. As many of you may know, I serve on the Environment and Public Works Committee, which has jurisdiction over infrastructure and transportation issues. Many of the issues we address on EPW have a direct impact on Iowa. In particular, I am looking forward to working on the upcoming Water Resources Development Act, we call WRDA, and the proposed infrastructure bill. As you all are aware, my EPW colleagues and I have already started working on the next WRDA bill, which authorizes the projects and activities of the Army Corps of Engineers Civil Works program. This is a very important piece of legislation, and I'm glad that Congress has begun passing WRDAs every 2 years again, after only passing one between 2000 and 2014. We have already held 2 hearings and received valuable testimony from both stakeholders and the Corps. I know your organization has been active on the Hill, and my colleagues and I appreciate your valuable perspective and input. I know one of your main priorities is fixing the 408 permitting process. This is a priority for me too, and something I regularly hear about from the groups I meet with, both in DC and Iowa. 408 permits were originally intended to be required only for navigation projects, things like dredging or changing the course of a river. Unfortunately, in recent years, the Corps has begun requiring 408s for modifications to local flood protection infrastructure, something 408s were never supposed to be applied to. This is stalling the efforts of non-federal interests who have both the desire and the funding to make much-needed improvements to existing flood control projects. Projects that are owned, operated, and maintained by non-federal interests should not have to obtain a 408 permit. This is something the Corps District Engineer should be able to approve and has been the case in the past. As we continue working on the next WRDA bill, rest assured that I am committed to relieving local sponsors from having to obtain a 408 permit for flood control projects. WRDA 2016 included a number of important provisions. It authorized a study of the levees along the upper Mississippi and Illinois rivers on a system-wide basis to evaluate the flood damage risks on a basin-wide basis, which I know was a very important priority for you. It also recommended that the Corps expedite completion of the Cedar Rapids Flood Mitigation Project, which was authorized in WRDA 2014. Now that we have these important projects authorized, the biggest challenge we face is getting them funded. Make no mistake, I will be pushing to make sure the administration knows how important these flood mitigation and infrastructure projects are to Iowa. I have had several discussions with Office of Management and Budget Director Mick Mulvaney, who implements the President's budget request and will have a role in the funding of flood mitigation projects. I plan on keeping that conversation going and working with him and others in the administration to find new and creative ways to address a lot of these issues. As many of you know, President Trump would like Congress to develop a comprehensive infrastructure bill. It still remains to be seen exactly what that would entail, but as a member of the EPW committee, which would have a substantial role in any infrastructure legislation, we are eager to work on substance and to do so in a conservative and thoughtful approach. When it comes to levee standards and levels between the Corps and FEMA, I know there has been a lot of uncertainty out there and a lot of underlying issues. I will continue to stress the importance of clearly defined rules so our levee and drainage districts know what to expect and what to plan and budget for. This is an issue that is occurring across Iowa, and it's something we need to continue to work on with folks. Our locks and dams on the Mississippi River and its tributaries are a critical piece of our ag transportation infrastructure. Most of them were built during the 1930s and have long outlived their design lifespan and are too small to handle modern barge tows. If we were to have failures at key locks and dams, it could cause millions or even billions of dollars in economic damage. It is important that we take a system-wide approach to river policy, especially with the Panama Canal being expanded to handle even more traffic. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I look forward to working together to tackle these issues. Also, please know that my office is always here to serve you. If we can be helpful, contact one of my offices, whether in Iowa or in Washington, D.C., or visit my website at ernst.senate.gov. Thank you for all that you do, and I look forward to the progress in the year ahead.